There's that dance of, am I guiding my kids too much, or they can figure it out? So that's been heavy on my heart, I think we're having too many parents allowing our teens to figure it out themselves, right?
Mm,
And I remember what we just talked about on my podcast about finding a mentor as a messenger, right? So there's that in between. There's like the two extremes of like of overly controlling mom or parent, and then oh, do whatever you want. I'm too busy in my life, so you go figure it out yourself, right? And so I feel like we're at that section now where teens mess up and parents are covering up, you know, and there is no responsibility happening, and there has to be a happy medium where, yes, I get it. We got to work, we can't keep all our eyes on our teens, but we have to have the responsibility of guiding them towards something.
Welcome to Parenting Teens Today with Jesse LeBeau.
Thank you for having me on your amazing podcast.
Of
I had
course.
so much fun just chatting. Now we're turning it around, and I want to hear all about you and everything that you got going on and how the heck you became, can I call you a mom influencer? I
I
feel like
guess you
you're a
could call
mom
me
influencer,
a mom
right?
influencer. I guess. A mom mentor. That's what I am. You're a youth mentor. I'm a mom mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every person has a story, and I think it's so interesting. And I've spent a long time sharing mine all over the place. And I want to hear your story. So, how did this all come to be?
Gosh, it was one of those, and I have to say, it started when I was 13. Like the
I feel like I
story
just saw your
started.
whole life cross before your eyes there for a bit. Like you took a minute and like you saw it.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I did. I did. I did this. I was in a women's group. I did a personal study and on identity, right? And I felt like I'm a person of faith. So I felt like, gosh, I was being shown my 13-year-old self, like as a 40-year-old. I'm like, why are you bringing me back to 13? This is so weird, But that was a pivotal moment where, things changed for me. I was this good young little girl. And then once puberty hit, I totally rebelled against my parents. I was angry. Um, my first boyfriend, which I wasn't supposed to have, was a gang member. I did the things that I think was a nightmare for my parents. I came from an immigrant military family. So you can imagine, things were a little different in our family dynamics, very strict, very disciplined. And I wasn't having it at all as a strong-willed child. But I realized that because of the things I've gone through as an eighth grader, as a 13-year-old, that put a big strain on my relationship between me and my parents, especially me and my mom. And
Mm,
so growing up from there as a young adult, I've made lots of mistakes. I've struggled with self-worth, self-confidence, people pleasing. And it wasn't until I was 40 where these were highlighted, and I still struggled, even as a mom, with all these things that once I got into therapy, it like just opened itself up. And it was at 13 where it started. And so why am I in this? Why do I have a podcast about mom-daughter relationships? Because, I really do speak to my mom. It's my mom who was raising me at the time that didn't know what to do, that didn't have community, that didn't have the resources and felt lonely, that gave me the reason to speak to that mom today, because it also inadvertently shapes the daughter into a woman, who is worthy, who has confidence because of the mother-daughter relationship bond that can be tumultuous during the teen years. But if I can help show them like how to create open communication and to kind of just keep on moving forward as we were talking, right? And helping them, guide them, and having a village around them, then that's my mission. Because of that story, is I want young girls to know who they are and not have to figure it out when they're 40, you know?
mm. I love that so much. And I feel like moms get such a tough rap sometimes because I'll be honest, I didn't see my mom as a legitimate human person until I was probably about 26. And
Hmm.
it hit me, and I was like, oh, she's just a person that had her own life and her own dreams and just paused everything to give me the best life that she possibly could. And I think I'm not alone in that. I think a lot of kids just, it's mom and you provide and you sacrifice everything. And moms, I've learned, have the biggest hearts and are the busiest people in the world. And so it breaks my heart when people aren't able to have that relationship like it sounds like you didn't have with your mom growing up. So
Yeah.
were you guys bumping heads all through your basic, like your teen years, or did you guys ever come to a resolution where you started to get on better terms?
Oh yes, no, me and my mom, we have a beautiful relationship now.
You do
But it
now.
wasn't,
Good.
yes, and it's not like I ever pushed her away growing up, but deep down there was that seed of resentment, for not having the type of connection I needed from her when I was growing up. But I worked past that. We talk about responsibility and owning your life, right? On my podcast, it's the same thing. It's like I am responsible for how I react, not how she reacted towards me. You know what I mean? And so taking responsibility of being the little butt, as a 13-year-old,
Yeah.
really released a lot of responsibility that I had put on her, for the lack of relationship that we had. And so, yes, no, we're totally fine. Actually, we have a great
It's a
relationship.
happy ending.
Oh, yes, yes. And
Good.
my kids love their grandma. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you had this moment where you went back and you saw, and it was very clear to you at 13, and you wanted to go and help other people.
Mhm.
And then how did the podcast, because you've built this amazing community online, and for everyone watching, you can go and we'll have it all linked up and join that. And where can they go? Where's the best place to go? Just
Raisingherconfidently.com.
.com. Okay, perfect. Go there. Yeah, and like you said, I love that because that was a quote I always heard growing up is it takes a village. It takes a village. And I believe that so much with the kids that we work with. That's why I love bringing people like you on, where some people would be like, aren't you kind of like helping competitors out? And it's like, no, because there's nothing that I can do that if Jenny's gonna do it and you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's there, people are going to be drawn to you that really connect and that you can help. And your story and what you do, I can't do.
Yes.
And I feel the same way about anyone else with me and what I do. So
Yes.
I love that. So how did you birth this whole thing and create this awesome, amazing community?
Oh gosh, it just started with I was a group leader, wanted to be involved in my daughter's life. And so I decided, you know what, our church was putting together youth groups, and I decided to lead one myself. And we got up to an eighth graders, believe, mind you. I mean, some of them were like me as an eighth grader, but we had up to about 23 girls in my group. And it filled me up so much to be able to, pour into them, to kind of speak life and words and truth into them. But I did realize during that time that moms were coming to me with some relational issues that they were having with their daughters. And it made me realize that no matter your socioeconomic, your background, your whatever, your upbringing, or where you live, you're going to have relational issues, right? And so I felt like moms didn't have the community and the resources that they needed. And I felt like, gosh, here we go again. It's like talking to my mom again. And so like, I need to do more and to kind of at a higher level speak into moms, because moms are in their daughter's life more than I would ever be in the 1 hour a week. And
Yeah.
so that's how we started, was I need to help moms and mentor them navigate through this season with their daughters so they can come out with this desire to be their best friend as adults, and have that healthy relationship. So that's how it started.
There's so much negativity in the world. And I love it's just everything that you said. And there's so much for following your passion and finding that thing. And you never know when you're going to find it and what it's going to be, right?
Right.
You may think you have this planned out and you're going in this direction. And then all of a sudden you pivot and you have this whole new thing that you didn't even know existed, which is so awesome. I wanted to ask you for the parents in your community. Oh, no, no. I wanted to ask you, run that back. A success story. There's so much negativity in the world.
Mhm.
What for you is like a story that comes to mind of one of your moms and daughters? I just love hearing the stories of how your influence just completely transformed their life or something cool like that. Do you have anything like that you could share with us? I know it's probably hard just to pick one, but is there one that pops into your head when I said that?
Yes, actually, it was a recent one. It's one of the moms, and she's actually in London. This is the beauty of being online and having an online community, is that your reach isn't limited, right? And she had some issues because her daughter suddenly changed. This change that happens, no longer connecting, actually pretty rebellious, very, disrespectful, and just wants to hide in the room. And so she came to me asking, how do I even connect with her? I don't even know who she is. That's what my mom even said to me at 13. I don't even know who you are anymore. Right. And that's very heartbreaking to hear, especially from a mom. Right. And so she took my course, and she said, even in a matter of a couple of weeks, her daughter told her, you are my safe place, and home is where I feel like I belong. And it's such an incredible feeling to like hear that coming out of her mom, as she's like tearing, because she never thought that would even be possible because of the attitude that she was dealing at the time. So it's just a matter of moms like shifting their perspective and understanding where their daughter is coming from and reaching them and loving them where they're at, right? So that was one of the stories that I felt was super incredible. I mean, even to make an impact like the other side of the globe was like meaningful to me, and just being able to be like, yes, this is exactly it.
Shout out to moms right now. It is the amount of unselfishness and just unconditional love that a mother has is just so unmatched. And it's so frustrating. And I see this too, when you have these moms that just love their kid more than anything in this world. They would literally give their arm just for them to be happy and have friends and be loving life and fulfilled and confident and all these things. And then all of a sudden, puberty hits, teenage years hit, and they just flip a switch and they're like, who are you? Like, like, what are you doing here? And you're like, I'm the person who brought you into this world and literally sacrificed their whole life to give you the shot to have the best life that you can. So
Right.
shout out to moms, and I'm so glad that you're giving them those tools to be able to get through these types of situations.
Oh, thank you. And sorry, I wanted to
No,
talk
you
to
go.
you on that point, because
Yeah.
it's a reality. Yes, that does happen. And a lot of moms carry the burden of guilt, that they feel like it's their fault that their daughter or their son has switched on them. And it's not. It's really just that's life. It's the season of change of teenhood, and that's what adolescence is. That's why it's like the toughest season for parents, is the change that's happening in our kids. There's a time where kids are going to start thinking independently. Think kids are going to start to feel separated from their family unit because biologically they're ready to procreate. I know it's like, I don't want to hear that. But that's the reality of teenhood and puberty, is they're making the change to be independent, to become an adult, to be separated from their family unit, including their parents, right? And so sometimes we take the weight of that and put out our own shoulders and take the responsibility for it. And it's none of us to carry. It's really like, okay, first identifying that, oh, here we go. The change is happening in her. She's ready to start like flying the coop, right? And if we can see it that way, then it's more of a, okay, let me prepare. Like, I need to let go of some of the things that I've been holding on to too much, because that's probably what's causing the rebellion and the attitude, right? So being able to see that and being able to shift, right? That's what I help moms work through, is identifying the change and shifting, identifying and shifting. Because if you can do that dance, it won't be as hard. I'm not going to say it's be perfect, but it won't be as hard, right?
It's a difficult dance. It's a high wire balancing act. They're temperamental. Can I talk to them now? That's beautiful. I absolutely love that. And it's one of these things where I see that too, and it breaks my heart where so many of the moms blame themselves,
Yeah.
right? And they go, "Well, these things are going wrong and it's my fault." And I love that message. Hey, you're not alone. This
Yep.
is part of the process. A lot of times it's out of your control and you're doing the best you can. If
Yep.
you're part of this community, you're listening here right now, then you are 1% of the 1% who loves your kid so much that you're spending your free time listening to a podcast, listening to a video that is aimed at helping you be able to be a better parent. So I'd say that you're trying pretty darn hard on your end and to offer yourself some grace. You know,
Yes.
I
Grace.
I wanted to ask you, is there anything on your heart that you've been seeing come up with a lot of parents recently or lately? I sometimes go through these different kind of cycles where I'll be like, kind of like, man, I'm just thinking about something and it's on my heart a lot. Right now, it's like phones, like kids and their phones and screen time and social media and all of it. Like I can't stop thinking about it. Is there anything like that for you right now, or just a message that you have that you want to share?
Oh, this is something that actually has been coming on my heart. It's actually a little heavy on my heart, is just what's going on in the community. And we're talking about lack of responsibility. It's
Hmm.
kids getting into trouble and kind of almost like raising themselves and not, parents kind of like covering up. I hate to say it in that way, but it's the disconnect of guiding our kids. There's that dance of, am I guiding my kids too much, or they can figure it out? So that's been heavy on my heart, I think we're having too many parents allowing our teens to figure it out themselves, right?
Mm.
And I remember what we just talked about on my podcast about finding a mentor as a messenger, right? So there's that in between. There's like the two extremes of like of overly controlling mom or parent, and then oh, do whatever you want. I'm too busy in my life, so you go figure it out yourself, right? And so I feel like we're at that section now where teens mess up and parents are covering up, you know, and there is no responsibility happening, and there has to be a happy medium where, yes, I get it. We got to work. We can't keep all our eyes on our teens, but we have to have the responsibility of guiding them towards something, right? And being okay with having resources, help, mentorship, whether me mentoring you as a mom or you, Jesse, mentoring their teen, right? We need a village of people to understand that teens still need to be guided. They need to be guided into adulthood. They are not an adult yet, right?
Yeah.
And so that has been heavy on my heart, just seeing just so young people just getting into bad trouble, with the law, and nobody's taking responsibility for it. And so that's been heavy on my heart.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. It is such a tricky one. Sometimes today I feel like it's like the kids have the upper hand, where
Mhm.
the parent can't discipline them, or they'll get mad and they threaten to hurt themselves, and they
Yes.
know every mental health disorder and syndrome that they can say, well, I'm ODD, oppositional defiant disorder. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like you're a little brat, is what it
Yeah.
sounds like right now. And kids are so smart that they outsmart you and they go, well, I need a mental health day. And
Yep.
I just want to be like, do you know how many things I have to do every single day that I don't want to do?
Yes.
I gotta get up at a time I don't want to get up. I gotta go exercise and it hurts and I don't like it. I gotta eat foods and not eat foods. I got
Yep.
to go to bed at a certain time. I got to talk to literally that's life consists of doing mostly things that you don't want to do. And maybe I need to reevaluate my life and get some more fun things in there. But that's that coddling, really like coddling, like, okay, you're saying like, when do I jump in and help? And when do I let them build up some independence? And there is definitely a lot of issues with kids being coddled, and it's the parents with the best of intentions, right? But
Yes.
they don't want their kid to be sad when they lose or don't do good in school. So, but instead of letting them feel that pain and learning how to work hard and being there for them, we'll
Yep.
just give you that trophy, or we'll go blame the teacher and get them fired, or get the coach kicked off of the school board. All these different things, you know. So yeah, I'm with you for sure on that. I
Yes.
I want to know what has been your biggest struggle as a parent with your kids.
Oh, that one's a good one. As a podcast, speaking to moms raising teen girls specifically, I'm always concerned about their worries and I don't really think about mine. Um, I think with me as a mom, it's releasing. I talked about like, sometimes parents like go too much. I think with me, it's carrying on their responsibility and making it mine. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And because I have young adult children and then I have one that's going to be an adult, I need to let them. So I even did a podcast on this. It's, quit saving your teenager, you know?
Yeah.
And that's something I'm working on too, is quit making their worries my worry. You know
Mm,
what I mean? Because if it becomes my worry, then I get caught up in the, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this, instead of letting them figure it out with some certain guidelines. And as an adult, letting them figure out what's a consequence or making the right choice, because I'm robbing them of refinement when I do that. And I'm robbing them of confidence through that refinement. So that one's a challenge, is
yeah.
making their worries my worry.
Isn't that crazy? Like the problem is I love my kids too much, and I take it on because I want to see them happy. I want to see them successful and reach all of their dreams, but it's sucking the life out of you to take on every single little thing. And it's that back to that coddling thing. Hey, if they never eat peanuts, they're going to become allergic to peanuts. There's
Yeah.
a little bit more to it than that, I think. But
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And we talk about leveraging failures strategically.
Yep.
So within reason, like it's okay to fail. In fact, most of my life, I feel like it has been failing, and then there's every once in a while, there's a win and a yes, and you go, oh, boom, and you keep going. And I think the people that succeed at the highest levels most of the time are the people who failed the most. They just keep going,
Yep.
and that's such a hard one for moms and also hard for teens because they watch everyone else on social media and everyone else has a gazillion followers and a gazillion dollars and the
Yep.
perfect body and friend group and do all the coolest things ever. And they're like, well, how do I literally? I have parents coming to me like, my daughter likes to sing, but she stopped because she said she's not as good as Taylor Swift. Now, whether or not you think Taylor Swift has a great voice, that's a whole other debate, and I don't want to get attacked by the Swifties. But
Yeah.
but these people literally will stop because they're comparing themselves to people who are doing these different things at the highest level in the world,
And
which is
that's
not
the
fair to
truth.
kids.
Right. And that's the truth. They see the end product, but they don't see where they started from, the work that it took to get to where they're at. Right. And yes, and it isn't fair to the kids because they only see the highlights, right? The highlight reel of social media, and they compare themselves to that, and that their life doesn't seem so grand compared to what they see on social media. Gosh, I can go on and on with that too, but
Yeah. What are your rules with your kids with their phones? And it so much has changed. Like, and it's especially tough with teen girls, right?
yes.
Because boys, they have their whole set of issues, but the data and the research shows when those iPhones came out and Facebook came out, the amount of depression and mental health issues and self-harm just skyrocketed, especially for teen girls, because they're so plugged in to that social dynamic in the middle school, high school age. And now you have a thing that's literally called social media, where they can go and take down each other's worlds in this way and let them know they weren't invited, or and they weren't good enough and this boy liked their thing. It's like, well, how the heck do we navigate these waters? So what did you do with your kids, or try to do, or are doing?
Yeah, so okay, they're adults now, so they have full reign of their social media platforms. But when we first started, even just considering a phone, we had specific boundaries and expectations that we set for each of our kids. And it just happened to progress. You start with our oldest, middle, and the youngest. And we didn't allow them to have a phone until they were 13. And some of you out there might be like, wow, that's pretty young. But it wasn't full reign 13, like, oh, here's your phone, have at it. It was 13 with a lot of boundaries and rules set around it, a lot of monitoring. And it was a progression depending on responsibility, right? Of them slowly gaining more access to, their phone, to social media platforms. It took a lot of responsibility on our kids' part to prove that they can handle social media, right? It took a while for my daughter to even have one. And the reason why we allow it is because what we want to teach is not avoidance. We want to teach responsibility with the phone, with social media, and also managing your mind, because a lot of it is your mind and what you allow your mind to say, right? Based on what you see. And so based on that responsibility, then we allowed certain time blocks, certain access. But as a 17-year-old now, I rarely have access into her messaging because she talks to me about it. I talk about creating open communication with your daughter. Like, you want to hear it from your daughter and not feel like you're always looking behind the scenes, finding out the truth. You want to hear the truth from her. So that is built through trust and through communication, right? And so that's what me and my daughter do. Is I hardly go on her social media, but when I do have a question, she's free to answer it because we have that relationship around it.
Mm,
Now,
so
there
good.
are, right? And because and also, like, your daughter well. If something is off on her, right? Like, her attitude's off, like she just is a little sad, then communicate that. Like, what's going on? Was there something that you saw? Like, I knew my daughter being away, she missed her senior year here. And that was a choice that she made. And she knew she was giving up a lot of things. But on social media, her friends and her old classmates would post about homecoming. So she knew
Mm.
she was going to miss homecoming. So I immediately called her and I asked her, hey, how are you feeling? How's it going? I know you're probably seeing a lot of posts about homecoming. How does that make you feel? So just being willing to go there and ask the questions and not assume that, oh, she's going to be fine. Even if she like sees something, it's okay to have discussions with it. So eventually when they're 18, 19, they have full responsibility and mental capacity to handle, social media and the phone.
I think that's a wonderful balance, because
Mhm.
the answer can't be just take it away altogether, because we all need it. We all use it every single day. It helps us to get to where we're going and communicate with our loved ones. But if you don't have a game plan and if you don't have systems in place, then you don't stand a chance. And that's back to that epidemic of loneliness that we were talking about earlier. So having it and teaching them, the saying that I love, you have your takes a village. The one I like as well as that one is, you're preparing your child for the road, not preparing the road for your child. And so many people are running out in front of the car and they're trying to clear out the road and smooth it out and get off the gravel. But that's not realistic. It's gonna be a bumpy road out there, and they're gonna have to know how to navigate their phone. And if you don't let them learn that and understand through your great communication that you're having with her of like, look, yeah, you could go on here literally and have infinite access to everything in the history of the world. You can watch videos and be super interesting and the most amazing music forever. And it will literally, that scroll will keep going until the end of time. But it's not good. It's not good for you. I think it's going to be like a Surgeon General warning is with cigarettes eventually when they come out and say like, oh no, we turns out this is pretty darn bad for you. And that's why everyone's depressed, anxious, stressed on Ritalin and all these different things.
Yeah.
And so I love that you have that balance of, hey, let's slowly ease into this. It's a privilege, not a right. It
Right.
doesn't matter what all the other kids are doing. If they're on Snapchat at 13, too bad. Their parents are making bad decisions. Not to judge any moms out there, but don't give your kid Snapchat, hopefully ever, but definitely not at 13. Right?
Yes,
It's nothing good going on there that they can't do with the text message. So it doesn't have to disappear. I'll take
exactly.
my soapbox.
No, and I agree. Parents, do your research. Know what's out there. I know there's a couple of sites out there that investigates, new apps that are out, and even like social, like what's cultural now, what's in that the teens
Yeah.
are in. So it allows you to be in the know so that you can discuss on these topics and understand what they think about it.
We
Yeah.
we have kids every week that we find out they're talking to someone and it's not who they think they're talking to, and it's some stranger that's an adult person uh being a perv. And this is like consistently every week. So it just was such a simpler time when we were growing up, wasn't it? You
Yes.
didn't have to keep up, like you said, like the new app. I was at a school like a year ago and I hadn't heard of Be Real. Do you know the Be
Yes,
Real?
I do know what Be Real is.
Okay, so I didn't know, and the girl
Yeah.
came up right in the middle of my talk in front of like 8 schools, and she's like, "Oh, we got to do a Be Real," and I was like, "I don't know what's going on, but it seems like you're kind of being kind of rude right now and messing up me in the middle of this thing here. I'm trying to evoke some emotion out of people right now." Um, and yeah, so it's like continually these things are coming and going. So it is
Yeah.
like a lot to juggle. I'm thankful. That we grew up in the time that we did. And I don't envy these kids today because, man, these things are changing. But I have a lot of hope in them. And I see a lot of them curious. And I think it's going to swing back where they take a step back more and more because they're seeing and being like, yeah, it's not cool to be on there. Everything on there is fake. Like
Yeah.
everyone's just pretending, it's filters, it's changing their bodies, it's Photoshop, it's AI generated now. Do
Yep.
you hear that? Are you hearing that from kids and moms in your world?
Oh, yes, definitely. Especially with the whole everything's fake. Like that's not real. Just don't believe that. So I do hear it. I hear it with my own kids, and I hear it with some of the kids that are, on there, and they're just don't believe some of the things that you see. And it's true. And I can go off on social media, just all the news that they hear on there, from like images to like news. It's crazy that, and it's not like you were saying, it's not like you throw darts at everything that's coming at you. That's not what the point is. It's teaching your girl to discern, teaching your girl to know what's right and wrong, regardless of what's coming at her or him. That's what matters more, right? And that's the constant communication that needs to happen between mom and dad, and parent and kid, or even like mentors. Having mentors kind of like shape them too, like, hey, like, oh yeah, that's not cool, that type of thing, that they're highly influenced by. So I think it's more of, we can control or at least manage what's coming out of our kids, and instead of trying to battle everything that's coming at them, like you were saying.
Hmm. Yeah, prepare them for that road ahead. If
Yes.
you were going to go give let's say you're at the stage in your life where you're having your first child, and you were able to go back in time and give yourself one or two pieces of advice, what would it be?
First advice, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Life is not going to be perfect. kids aren't going to meet the milestones that you read about, but you love them where they're at. You love them where they're at. And as long as they know that they're loved, I think you're going to be fine.
Mm,
Yeah.
I love it. It's so good. It's
Yeah.
so good. I had so much fun. Thank you again for coming and sharing your story and all the amazing work that you're doing. Tell it one more time, the website, and we'll put it on there. But where can they go?
They can find me at raisingherconfidently.com. That's where you'll find my podcast. And I would love for you to come and listen and just get tips on creating open communication with your teenage daughter. But it also works for boys too, I've found.
Yeah, yeah, all right. It crosses over. Good.
Yeah, it crosses over.
I
So
love
thank you
it.
so much for having me, Jesse. This was fun. And I know we both have passions like caring for teens and the next generations that are coming to like rule this world. So I am so happy that we're able to exchange our own knowledge and wisdom and just, being that village that helps surrounds moms and dads, raising their kids. So thank you.
Isn't that crazy? It used to be like kids would go around and if they were misbehaving in public, complete strangers would spank them and be like, "Hey, you can't talk to a stranger like that. You need to be nice." And
Yeah.
now it's like we'll all just hide behind our phones and talk to the robots. We need to bring the village back. We need that human connection. I'm in. I want to be in
Me
the
too.
village. But I might be the village idiot, but I'm going to be there.
No, you're not the idiot. You're very, very wise.
So wise. Thank you again. And for the moms that come to your site, what you do there besides the podcast is one-on-one coaching with them. Do I have that right?
I do. I do
Group
one-on-one
coaching.
coaching, and I also have a course that I actually would point them towards first to
Start
create
there.
that open
Okay.
communication with their girls. So, yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you for what you do. And I'm really glad we did this.